All right, guys, 30 videos, 30 days. Here we go. Back at it. The whole premise behind the 30 videos in 30 days is you record it, you don't edit, you don't stop, restart, all of that stuff. It's just raw, authentic. That's it. No polish. Just hit record and then post that puppy. So that's what we're doing. Now, I did mess up one day, so had to start over. So here we are, man. That's just how it is. But that's an important life lesson too. Look, you say you're going to stop smoking and something goes wrong and you stop for 10 days and then you have a smoke. Well, does that mean that all your hard work for the last 10 days is just washed away? No. Yeah. Did you put yourself back a little bit? Yes. Did you open the door to begin that habit again? Yes. Can you stop immediately? Absolutely. One smoke, one cigarette, one whatever, one drink, one bad meal doesn't put you back in the hole. That's the part we have to get, man. We have to get this and hang on to it like it's the most important truth you're ever going to find. That you can, at any point, start over. You can start again. Your very next meal, your very next opportunity to have a drink where you say no, the very next time you want to have that cigarette and you choose to do something healthy instead, that's how you get back on track and stay on track. Think about like a little slip. It's not a fall. It's a slip. Can you correct yourself? Yes. Is it a fall? Even if you do fall, can you get back up? Yes. Man, I'm telling you guys, don't beat yourself up. That's where I coach a lot of people. And that's where I see that cascade begin, where they spiral out and it just starts this avalanche of things that just beat them down. And they feel like, well, that's it. I messed up again. Maybe you mess up multiple times. Maybe over the period of the next 5-10 months, you fall multiple times. It's okay. That's what day one is for. Every day is day one. I don't count. So I was thinking about it the other day. The last time I drank to excess was 2010, I think. Because shortly after that is when I ended up in the hospital with pancreatitis, which wasn't related to drinking, but it's a genetic thing. My dad died of pancreatic cancer. So but that's when I ended up in pancreatitis. And that's also when I realized this is stupid. I don't need to drink. Drinking does nothing for me. It's destructive. But I had stopped drinking prior to that. So I ended up in the hospital in 2010 for pancreatitis. And I know for a fact I had stopped drinking before that, because when I went to get checked in for pancreatitis, one of the questions is, how often do you drink? How much do you drink? All that good stuff. And the answer was a resounding 0. And they went and then asked my friends and others, family members, like, hey, so how much does he drink? And they all got the same answer, which was nothing. He doesn't drink. Because prior to that, I had stopped. However, so that's what, 14 years? Yeah, 14 years of not drinking. And prior to that 2-year period of drinking and debauchery, I had not drank. I'd always been a straight edge kid. I had always been like, not going to do drugs, not going to drink alcohol. I'm going to keep my blood clean and my mind clear forever. I'm not adding these chemicals to my system. So that's 14 years. So let's say tomorrow something happens and I get drunk and I fall down. What does that mean to me? It just means the next day or the next moment, as soon as I am sobered up, day one, all over again. I have not kept track of the days that I haven't had a drink. I haven't done any of that stuff because I feel like it's counterproductive. I have friends that will say, hey man, I've been sober for 267 days. And I always feel like it's counterproductive. And I could be wrong, but for me, for the way my mind is wired, that would be counterproductive. For me, it's always day one. This is day one. Today, I'm going to get through today without doing these things. I'm going to get through today doing these things. And that's just how I've always treated it. Just for me, it's just easier to process and stay on track and stay focused. Is every day's day one. And that might be a result of reading the 7-Day Mental Diet book when I was a kid, where you just kept doing this until you could do it all the time, which was 7 days without a negative thought. And as soon as you have a negative thought, you start over. So it's day one again. And I don't know that I've ever got to day 7, but I know that I continuously start at day 1 and continuously work my way through that. So hopefully that makes sense. One of the things I was talking about today in Instagram Live that I did was a compressed training schedule. What does it look like when you only have 20 minutes? That's the biggest question, and probably the biggest objection I get from folks is, how do I train when I don't have a lot of time to train? And then the objection is always, I don't have a lot of time to train, so it's pointless. Why even bother? Man, there's a whole lot of ground in between. There really is a whole lot of space in between that extreme of, I got to train 6 hours a day, every day. I don't have enough time training, so I won't train at all. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the middle that we are just leaving on the table. So I wanted to talk about that. A long time ago, I'm living in the South Florida area, and I was training with some guys in Jeet Kune Do concepts as well as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And one of the guys that was training with us was a doctor. He's going through his residency or whatever that internship is called, where they're working, but they don't have any control of their schedule, and it's crazy. It's crazy how much this guy was working, the hours he was putting in, and just on the brink of exhaustion. I don't know if they still do that, but it's kind of scary to think you're making decisions based on healthcare in an emergency setting with like no sleep and stressed out. I don't know, man. I don't think that's a recipe for success, but let's get on with it. 20 minutes to train every day. And his way of structuring it was based around the Jeet Kune Do model of kicking, punching, trapping, grappling. And I have modified it to firearms, impact and edge weapons. Those two are together. Empty hand skills. So standing empty hand skills, and then empty hand skills on the ground. Always with the option to access tools from those positions. So here's how I would do it. You have 20 minutes to train. We're going to divide it into 5-minute chunks. For 5 minutes, I'm going to draw and press 1. So holster to first accurate hit on target. I think that's extremely important. You can never emphasize that too much. So that would be my 5 minutes. I would have 5 focused minutes every day just on that. Coming out of the holster, use a timer. Come out of the holster, on target, accurate hit. Back to the holster, reset it, set it up again. Hit the button on your timer and go again. I would do that for 5 minutes. Now, could you mix in some other things? Yeah, you can mix in the application of a tourniquet. So I'm going to come out on target, press the trigger, go back to the holster, apply a tourniquet to my left arm, come back out of the holster again, and one more, because that's how we do it in TCCC, right? Address the threat, fix the wounded, back on the threat. Then I would move that. Then the next one, I'm going to do it on my left leg. So left arm, reset, left leg, reset, right leg, reset, right arm, reset, which means when the right arm's tourniquet, I'm going to have to adjust the target with the left hand. That's going to give me 1, 2, 3, 4 tourniquet applications and a weak hand or left hand presentation to the target. That's a lot of information to cover, and I can do it in 5 minutes. If I'm efficient with my use of time and application of the tourniquet, I can probably get 2 or 3 runs around the whole body, applying tourniquet to each limb in that 5-minute period. That's a solid 5-minute practice. Next, I'm going to take an impact weapon. Could be anything. Impact and improvised weapons are pretty much going to be the same. So the mechanics that you use for an impact weapon going to be what you use for an improvised weapon. Think about it. Most improvised weapons out there are going to be something that you can pick up and swing. Rarely are you going to find something with an edge or pointy that you could pick up and use as a edge weapon or a stabbing weapon, but they're there. Pens, things like that, pencils. So you could do that too. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to train my impact weapon. Say today I'm just working impact weapons. I'm just going to work impact weapons, get 5 minutes of just moving around, just drilling, hitting, working the X. So you have your forehand downward, your backhand downward, you have your forehand upward, your backhand upward. That's pretty much everything. Maybe a couple horizontal, forward and backward, but that's it, man. Work that for 5 minutes. Then I'm going to work a single combination for my stand-up. I'm going to work, say, a jab, a hook, so left, left, and then a rear kick off of my right leg. I'm just going to drill that for 5 minutes. Not going to vary. I'm just going to move around. 1, 3, kick, right? 1, 3, kick. Just going to move around. That's it. I'm going to focus and drill down hard on that combination. 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes, I'm going to pick a essential movement, a basic movement from jiu-jitsu, such as bridging, hip escape, or a technical stand-up. And I'm just going to drill that for 5 minutes because those 3 movements are key components of every escape. Think about it. In every escape you're ever going to do in jiu-jitsu or any form of grappling, you're going to do some sort of hip escape, bridge, technical stand-up, maybe chained together, but that's what you're going to end up doing when you're trying to escape, get back to your feet, or reverse your opponent. So that's what I'm going to focus on. Now, that's Monday. Say Tuesday I come in and I'm like, hey, yesterday I worked draw to first hit. Today I want to work shotgun. What's the most important part of the shotgun? Keeping that thing topped off. So I'm just going to practice 1, reload, and then back on target. I'm going to practice every time I press the trigger, cycle the action, or if it's an auto, every time I press the trigger, I'm going to come off the belt or out of my pocket or whatever my home defense setup is, and I'm going to keep stuffing that thing, keep feeding that thing. And so I develop the necessary skills for that piece of equipment in that range of the fight, the firearms range. Now, can you also incorporate tourniquet or some other form of expedient medical? Absolutely. Could you practice maybe having your phone set out? Don't actually dial it, but practice, like say to yourself verbally, now is when I call 911, and practice verbalization. I'm holding at the top of my stairs. I'm advising them that, yes, hey, there are intruders in my home. I don't know what they look like. This is my address, blah, blah, blah. Go through your script, work it out. 5 minutes on that. How can it be bad? It's 5 more minutes than you had yesterday. Now, we're going to get to the weapons. Yesterday I worked impact weapons. Today I'm going to work edge weapons. Maybe I'll pick up a pen like we talked about, or some sort of improvised stabby tool where I can go to work and I'm just going to practice, point-driven methodology. That's my jam. That's what I'm going to practice. I'm not a big fan of cutting and slashing. It has its place, and it's like anything, right? If that's the only thing available to me, then I'll take it. I'll slash and cut. But I really want to be focused on pushing the point into my opponent. Do that for 5 minutes. Now, third 5 minutes, that's my stand-up time. Yesterday I worked a jab, a hook, and a rear kick. Today I'm just going to work maybe the jab and the foot jab. I'm just going to work on what are my distance management tools. What is my offensive and defensive distance management tool? My jab and my foot jab. And I'm going to work those things for 5 minutes, and I'm going to focus. Nothing else. Not going to add anything in. Not going to get distracted with maybe a cross here or a rear uppercut no. Focus. Jab, foot jab, and hand jab. I want to focus on an overriding concept, which is maintaining distance, establishing the distance offensively and defensively. And what tool best does that? The jab and the foot jab, because I want my defense to hurt. I don't want to just sit here and just shell up or try to slip and move and all that. I want to sting them. Every time they step in, I want to punch them in the face or foot jab them in the stomach area, somewhere in the hip, somewhere where every time they move towards me, there's a pain penalty. Best defense, good offense, right? Now, on the ground, say yesterday I worked hip escapes. I did 5 minutes of hip escapes. Cool. Today, I'm going to do 5 minutes of technical stand-ups. Those technical stand-ups can look like all kinds of things. They could be a technical stand-up where I have my foot against a wall or against an immovable object, which would simulate my opponent, where I'm stomping on their hip and using that post on their body to then extract myself and do my technical stand-up. So I'm keeping them stomped and down, and I'm standing up. Or I could simulate an up kick, and then stand up. There's all kinds of ways to put it together, but just put it together and stay focused and work that for 5 minutes. Are there things that are going to fall through the cracks? Of course. There are absolutely things that are going to fall through the cracks, but if you've only got 20 minutes and you work the essentials, the basics, there's not much going to fall through the cracks because everything else depends on the basics. So if I'm constantly drilling the basics, I'm constantly refining the basics and taking them to a higher level, even if it's only 5 minutes at a time, how can that be bad? Now, there are studies that show that with musicians, that 5 or 10 or 20 minutes every day over a longer period of time was more beneficial than 1 3-hour monster session once a week, or 1 hour session here and 1 hour session over here, like inconsistent. What was found was that consistency is king, as in everything we do. Consistency is always going to be the thing that rules them all. So if I'm getting 20 minutes every day, and don't tell me you don't have 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes. You can find 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes over here, and 5 minutes over here. I guarantee you can find the time to put a little bit in every day consistently, over time, where you are going to be able to rack up what over a year ends up being quite a bit of time spent in each range developing those skills. Now, you can also blend them. So let's say I'm going to work my firearms. So I could work my firearms skills. Say I'm going to draw a pistol and work on coming out up and accurate, right? So I might do like a 1, 2, 3, sort of like a boxing blast, straight punches, a 3 count up top, and then come down and come up with a pistol, right? 1, 2, 3, up with the pistol. Or moving over to the impact edge weapons, 1, 2, 3, and come up with a punch dagger or a fixed blade. Or if you're going to carry a folder or pocket knife, then accessing that thing on the 3rd or 4th count. So 1, 2, 3, hand comes down, this hand stays up, and I come up with my blade. I come up with my edge weapon. All kinds of ways that you can train all of the skills, integrating them all seamlessly so that you become the athlete that I want you guys to become, which is you have the ability to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, with anything. You are safe everywhere you go because you are incredibly dangerous. That's what I want for you guys. So stick around, follow me here, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, because we are building. And this is going to be a thing. We are building. We are making good people dangerous to bad people. That's my mission. I believe that's why I was put here, and we're going to do it. Thank you guys. I'll see you on the next one.